CITC, Mr. Rani, Co-Speaker, Shri Gopal Nayak, Ashok, and the friends. When I received this invitation to chair the session, I was glad because it gave me an opportunity to participate in this. But when I saw the circular where it was mentioned that the program was the main presentation by Dr. Nayak, I was very happy because I did not have to get this session, this appendage of the chairman to this session. And again, when I talked with her, this program includes part of the remarks by the chairman of the session, and therefore my joy was short. Be that as it may, since I have been asked to chair the first session, I think it will be my duty to offer some remarks which may be of use to the participants. Instead of traditional remarks about the complication of the subject and some difficult situations arising from various elements including the latest amendment, I thought I may deal with 2-3 cases which may be of help to the members if they face a similar situation. The first case which I would like to deal with is the decision of the Calcutta Tribunal in the case of Chamber of Commerce, which has been very recent and some of you might have also gone through it, where it was held that contrary to the normally prevailing position, whereby all chambers of commerce so far have been taxed on the ground that they are carrying on activities of general nature for the general utility, and therefore under the amended provision of 245, they will be liable to tax all their activities, including certificate of origin, arbitration, any classes or any educational activities which they carry on, are considered to be business activities. Therefore, it is fortunate that this position is sought to be modified by this landmark judgment of the Calcutta Tribunal, when if you read the judgment, it deals with the subject over 56 pages. And really, it's a classic judgment. It deals with the entire subject right from the beginning till the present moment. Now, as you know, the present position of the department is that they are considering the activities as business activities and therefore liable to tax. But the Calcutta Tribunal struck a different note by referring to sections 11(4) and 4(a), having recourse to which they have given the judgment that it will not be liable to tax in view of the provisions of section 11(4) and 4(a). I would like to read 1 or 2 paragraphs from that judgment, which will explain how exactly they have held that it will not be considered to be taxable entity and carrying on in business activities. The provision contained in section 11(4)(a) is clear to the effect that various exemptions under section 11 shall not be admissible in relation to any income, being profits and gains of business. Thereafter, a concession is also given that if the business is incidental to the attainment of the objectives of the institution and separate books of accounts are maintained in respect of such business, the assessee will become entitled to other deductions under section 11. Proceeding further, the tribunal observed the pre-assumption in section 11(4) is that activities which may be incidental to the main objects are, however, of business nature. Applying the above to the case of the assessee, it is very much clear that none of the activities undertaken by the assessee were business activities carried on with a profit motive, and therefore there was no need to maintain separate books of account for such activities. The generation of income is not inclusive of the test for determining the charitable nature Thus, the incidental activities were well covered by Section 215 and were thus eligible in such eventuality. The application of the Section 11(4)(a), which applies only to business activities, stands absolutely negative. In conclusion, they have laid emphasis on the question of the profit motive of the entity. The profits earned are utilized only for the purpose of the feeding feeding is the dominant object, and no part of such profit is distributed among its members. Profit making is not the object of the SSE. This is the important principle which they have resorted to. Profit is merely byproduct which resulted incidentally in the process of carrying out the charitable purpose. Thus, the income of the SSE for assessment year 2008-9 is exempt from tax under Section 11. I believe as time passes, more and more judgments of the tribunal will be given on the issue of this judgment, and hope that that will solve the problem of tax for bodies like chambers of commerce and trade associations. The second judgment which I would like to refer is the judgment of the Bombay High Court in the case of G Foundation, where the trust was concerned with the object of giving help to the poor ladies and poor women in Gujarat for certain diseases like AIDS and HIV and other diseases, and for which the grant was given by the Gujarat government. Now, the trust which was created by the center was having the main object of giving charity or giving help to such persons to whom Gujarat government sanctioned the aid. But the result or the reason why the trust was considered to be taxable, so it should not have been, was that the trust which was located at Bombay, having all the objects of charity, was carrying on its activities by, or rather through, a limited company, or let us say A Limited, which was a private company, but which was having a turnover running into crores in the course of its own business. Now, the shares in that company were held by the settler of the trust, or rather chairman of the trust, Mr. G. And therefore, it attracted the attention of the department that if G is the chairman of the trust, or rather he is the chairman of the trust, and is also holding the shares in that limited company, then why should Section 13 not be applied? The reason why it was carried through, and this was not a case of tax planning at all. This was a case which was going on since last at least about 6-7 years without any question of taxation by the department. But in one of the years, they considered that the amount which was sent to the limited company in Gujarat, from which the amount was then actually diverted to charity or spent for charity, was considered to be a loan to that company, and the department considered that such a loan given to a company in which the chairman of the trust and another company, which was the holding company of that company in Bombay, has to be considered to be hit by provisions of Section 35. Now, it was argued before the tribunal, and fortunately it has been accepted by the High Court, that if you apply each of the criteria, first of all, the first point was that it is a loan, and that point was easily rejected because this was not a loan. A loan is an amount which has to be returned. Here, the loan was actually not to be returned, it was an amount which was sent to the company to spend for charity. So therefore, it was accepted by the court that there was no question of loan, and Section 13(3) and 13(2) did not apply. But then they considered further as the provisions of Section 13(5) will apply, 13(3) will apply with reference to the various criteria laid down in that section, and there is no time to analyze clause by clause. But ultimately we succeeded in arguing before the department that even the clause E of 13(5) was not governing the case of the limited company to whom the amounts were given, and there was no question of benefit being given to a company in which the chairman of the trust, rather the trustee of the company at Bombay was also a chairman of that company. The judgment read, and it has not yet been reported because it has come only a few days ago. The Bombay High Court said, having heard the learned counsel for the revenue at some length and perusing the concurrent order of the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals and the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, we are of the opinion that consistent with the materials produced, it is recorded, namely, that different projects were undertaken in pursuance of a charitable object in the state of Gujarat, that the SSC before us had taken the assistance of a company in Gujarat called Gujarat Insecticides Limited, that may be a subsidiary, but since the SSC was undertaking charitable activities and charitable work, which have been noted in the orders passed by the Commissioners of Income Tax and Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, we are of the opinion in the High Court that merely because Gujarat Insecticides Limited was a 100% subsidy of G Limited in Bombay, in which Dr. Garda is holding substantial interest, does not mean that the transactions are either in the nature of an advance or a loan. It is only an assistance taken for the purpose of charitable activities of the SSC Foundation that the amount was forwarded, and therefore the exemption was claimed and upheld by the court. So this was the second instance where it was held that it will not be allowed to tax in spite of apparently the facts that it will allow to tax. And third, series of cases which I would not be able to go through it, but which I have cited, and I think we have circulated a list amongst the participants, where I have given almost about 15 judgments of the tribunal, where the tribunal, in a series of judgments, has held that the cancellation of PEL A by the DIT merely on account of the fact that there were sale proceeds or there were receipts which were of large order, it becomes a business income, and therefore the PEL A is cancelled. But not done by the tribunal because it was held that the cancellation can be only under the subclause 3 of PEL A, where only two conditions were laid down, namely that either the objects are not genuine or tax trust is not functioning according to these objects. So therefore, in a series of cases which I have cited, one after the other, the tribunal has blocked out the order of the DIT and restored the PEL A. So these are the third group of cases which I thought I may draw your attention, because still many more cases are pending. In fact, DIT exemption told us that we have prepared a big list of case cancellation of these registration certificate. Friends, I thought this would be a good start to the paper or presentation by Shri Gautam Nayak. I have read his paper, and it is so thoroughgoing